Episode 10, baby. We did it. 10 episodes in. How you feeling, Ted?
Huge milestone. Huge milestone. See, if you asked me around the first episode we get to 10, I'd say obviously. But then when we got to that cursed episode, cameras were dying, break starts.
Yeah.
You kind of realize that it's not. What'd you say?
Right before we go to break.
Yeah, and it just kind of feels like it's like people don't realize it's not as easy as it seems to actually find the time, but it's so worth it and it's so much fun and I'm thrilled. So thank you to everybody who has watched and subscribed.
College is a very busy time.
Yeah.
When you're on break and you're traveling, like I went to Arizona, Teddy's been in Florida. It's just very busy time. And so it is, like Tay said, it is hard to find the time, but we did it because we're committed to this podcast and we're not doing this to make a living. We're not doing this to make a lot of money. We're doing it to express our sports knowledge with not only YouTube, but with ourselves because we see eye to eye in a lot of things. B, it's fun for us. And C, maybe we could go viral and maybe we can make this like a show or whatever. So
one day you know what the end goal is the live show.
Like a Pat McAfee or Colin Cowherd.
Yeah, like the live. No, I mean like the live like audience, studio audience.
Oh,
live show somewhere down the road, but
maybe in New York City or Montclair, maybe Bismarck, North Dakota. Speaking of Bismarck,
maybe Bismarck.
I'm in a heated house, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I'm wearing a winter hat right now because it's negative 28 degrees. I want to get back.
I was gonna say like, oh, don't complain. Like in New Jersey, it's been like 19, 18, but that's
I wish.
Absurd.
I'm in the tundra right now, and I'm trying to get back to Syracuse so that I don't have to be. Which is funny because if I was in like anywhere else, I'd be like, oh, I have to go to Syracuse where it's so cold. But here it's like, nah.
Yeah, you know it's bad if Syracuse is like your warm place.
Exactly. So, Teddy, this was a huge weekend for entertainment for the NFL, and so much is going on. Super wild card weekend is over. And man, it feels good.
It does.
It's popping. Let me give you an example how the NFL is just king. So the numbers came out and they gave numbers for each super wild card weekend game. And the 49ers versus the Cowboys, Sunday afternoon, had an average of 41.2 million viewers. It peaked at 50.3 million viewers. Now, I saw a statistic.
Sounds like our podcast numbers.
It's not quite there.
No, not yet.
No, like ours are in the 60, 70 millions, but
if the NFL keeps working, maybe one day.
NFL could maybe get there one day. So they took the top 100 telecasts, shows watched, whatever, live television in America of the past year. 92 of the 100 streams, telecasts, cable shows, whatever, were NFL games.
92 of the how many?
92 of the top 100. Top stream telecasts. Or top watched.
And I'm sure, one of them was probably the Natty too.
That's wild.
Yeah, the NFL is, and that's the thing. We're going to get to the Bills Pats here in a second. But even with, I don't know a situation where the Patriots season can end and I can still have so much fun watching football that weekend.
Right.
If the Patriots get clapped at 1 p.m. on a normal Sunday, I'm probably not necessarily too concerned about the 4 o'clock games, the late game, the Monday night game. It's like kind of hurts to watch football, as you can probably understand a little bit as well. But this weekend, I was just like, every game is so good. Even the Eagles Bucks, which was the least entertaining of the bunch. You're watching playoff Brady, and the guy's a robot. He's a robot. He's not missing anything. He's a freaking robot. But
that's it, year in, year out, despite all the injuries.
Yeah, he's
the GOAT. Hey, I gotta bring this up since we were talking about Brady. So episode 9 is out, man, the arena. Amazing. If you don't have ESPN Plus, get a free trial just to watch the first 9 episodes. 10 as
I have to
episodes.
watch. Wait, so what's episode? Sorry to interrupt. What is episode? Episode 8 is the loss to the Eagles,
Yep. 9 is
and episode
the
9
Rams.
is the Rams.
Yep.
That one's probably sick because
Just
the team was dwindling and everyone's
okay, but
old.
anyways, about Tom Brady. Are you ready for this?
Yeah,
Teddy, I don't think you're ready for this.
go ahead.
So his opposing coaches that are left in the divisional round in the FC,
I heard this, but go on.
Sean McVay is 32 years old. Kyle Shanahan is 41, I believe. And Matt LaFleur is 42. Tom Brady is 44 years old.
It's unreal. 44.
Older than the coaches.
44. We're not talking about when the NFL quarterback's 39, 38. We go, he's getting old.
Yeah.
40. Wow. They're like, wow, he's playing at 40. Wow, he's playing at 41, 42, 43. He's at 44 years old, as good as he's ever been.
And the talent that he's getting, I don't see him stopping until shit. We don't know when.
It's the way he plays. He plays like a golfer almost, to the point where you can play until you're 80. I mean, even golfers. I mean, what golfer is the best golfer in the world at 44?
Yeah.
Nobody. So like, it's honestly, as you're wearing the titles hat, but it's unreal what he's doing. And I think my brother we're sitting at the dinner table the other night and he goes, is he going for 8? And obviously he knows that he's going for 8, but he's just kind of just saying it out loud. Like, is he trying to win his 8th Super Bowl right now? Like, it's unreal.
Maybe he won't stop till he gets 10.
Yeah. I remember when I just wanted him to get 4 so bad, so people would stop at the Montana stuff.
Yeah, when he had like the 8-year drought or whatever.
10, I think. No. Yeah.
It was about 10 years. Yeah.
It was 2004 to 2004, 25 season to 2014, 15 season,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Speaking of the Patriots,
Let's get it over with.
Before Teddy talks about it, I just want to say when we were talking in the last podcast episode, Teddy was clearly unbiased and he clearly knew something like not this in this fashion would have happened, but he was like the Bills.
Did I pick the Pats? Did I pick the Bills or the Pats? I forget.
I took the Bills.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm happy I did.
I believe. Yeah. And it's just the Bills are a couple steps ahead. Mac Jones still a rookie. It's so hard to win the playoffs as a rookie. And they're just getting the Pats are not going away. That's all I'm
heading up. They're heading up.
The Pats are not going to go away. People are so happy. They're like, oh, end of the dynasty. But that's the media. When a team dominates for so long, the media just loves it when they get taken down. But don't worry, media. Pats are not going away. They have such a good defense. It just wasn't a great match. I don't even want to say the Patriots played bad as much as, well, you saw it. The Bills had the first perfect NFL playoff game in history. No punts, no field goals, just touchdowns. I think they could have take one of the greatest teams in NFL history. I think that day, the way they're playing, they could be in that team because their defense looked like the top scoring defense that they are. They looked like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. They were rolling. They did their thing. Josh Allen is incredible. We all know that. Them versus the Chiefs this weekend is going to be good. But I don't take too much from the Patriots losing that game, even in a blowout fashion. I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think, just so I can say my piece on this, I think.
Congrats, Noah Rogoff. He's had a frustrating year as a Bills fan.
Congrats to Noah, I guess. Good guy, bad fan. And
good guy.
Listen, it's just, it hurts because I think people are so excited, and all credit to the Bills. Josh Allen, it's time for him to be in that. I think I don't put anybody with Brady, but if we're going to say it like this, it's time to put him in the Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes. I think he's kind of there. You know, I think he's better than Kyler Murray. I think he's better than Matt Stafford. So I think he's there.
Russell Wilson's one of my favorite.
Healthy Russell Wilson. I was the biggest Russell Wilson believer ever. And I'm not really going to I'll use next year to say if it's over. But healthy Russell Wilson to me is right there with Rodgers, if not better than Rodgers. You look at their careers, they each have that one Super Bowl. People love Rodgers a lot more. I respect Rodgers. but he has put together a really, really good career. People, I think, pretty quietly.
Quietly, because he's not like he's in Seattle. It's not like,
yeah, definitely
not like the Cowboys or the Patriots or the Niners or the Packers kind of fan base, Steelers. But I think if he gets out of Pete Carroll, out of the Seahawks, and he goes to maybe, let's say, like a Denver or Pittsburgh or the Vikings, he won't go to the Vikings. But I'm just saying, if he goes to a team with a good coach
Giants
or B, some good weapons, I don't want to see him go to the Giants.
Well, yes, after you said the weapons thing, if Saquon can get back to normal, plus, like, do you see the way he makes, and all respect to Tyler Lockett, I'm actually a big Tyler Lockett fan. However, do you see the way he makes Tyler Lockett look and these guys look? I mean, that team with Kenny Golladay and Sterling Shepard and whatever, and if Saquon gets a little healthier and the defense plays well, that team could be very, very good if they get Brian Flores.
You brought up a great point about Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett would not be the player unless he had Russell Wilson.
And I think he is very good. He's a great deep ball receiver, but Russ's deep balls are like famous because they go like,
yeah, not only their chemistry, but like, I just don't think even like some of the great quarterbacks like Josh Allen and Rodgers, there's something about Russell Wilson with his, like, not only his deep touch pass, but just his mobility. And I'm big on Russell Wilson. You can't look at this year and be like, whatever. This was his first losing season as a quarterback. That's like Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. This was his first year with the losing season. And look how bad the team was. And look at his injury in the beginning of the year.
My buddy, speaking of Mike Tomlin, if we want to, let's go really quick. Let's just touch on Chiefs.
I think you got to finish up about the Pats. I interrupted you a couple times, but
you're right. I will just say that happy 10-win season's good, right? Most NFL fans around the world would want to rip my head off for complaining about a 10-win season going to the playoffs and the added upside of having what looks like to be our quarterback for the future. However, it's not an excuse for the defense at all. It's not an excuse. And I love Bill Belichick, but you have to hold him to part of me is like, do we hold him to a higher standard and saying, like, what the hell was that? Like, how does that happen? Because I am always of the belief that you can kind of throw any 53 NFL players at him and we won't win the game, but it won't look like that. But then again, you go into Buffalo. As a New England Patriots fan, I've been the 1, 2, 3 seed a million times. You have the lower seed coming in who kind of has no business necessarily being there. They show the aerial view from the blimp. The stadium's jumping. It's about to be kickoff. Like, you kind of know there's no freaking shot. You know what I mean? You kind of know it's kind of already written how it's going to go. And so that, the energy and their talent, and they're much farther along than us. They're rising right now in terms of where they're going as a team. If not, they might have reached it. And I'm not saying that as in a bad way. I'm saying they might have reached where they're going to be at, like the best they're ever going to be. So they're going up. We're down here still. I think we're going up, but we haven't caught them. And I think the better we get, I don't think this Bills team's getting better, if that makes sense. I think this Bills team is kind of this Bills team, which is a really, really good team, which is a top 4 or 5 team in the NFL, which they will be next year. And so I think now the chase is on, right? Like, what can we do? How can we build? I think they've done a good job. They've gotten some weapons around Mac, right? People shit on the weapons a lot, which is fair. But we have everything besides the number one guy. Think about it. If we had a Devontae Adams or something, all of a sudden you might say that's the best receiving core in the league. And I say that because Jacoby Myers has 88 catches this year. Kendrick Bourne had 800 receiving yards, 50 catches, 5 touchdowns.
You look Hunter Henry, best 2 tight end combo.
Well, Jonnu Smith just didn't, and I don't know whether to put that on McDaniels or Jonnu Smith himself, but it feels like when Jonnu Smith was targeted, he caught the ball, but it felt like we threw to him. I think he had 30 catches this year, and I think we threw him the ball probably 35 times. So that's my take on the Patriots. I don't think there's no reason to panic if you're a Patriots fan. I think if I told you after last year, let's say we just finished our last game last year, just beat the Jets week 17, we're done. we just go 7-9. I say we draft Mac Jones, win 10 games, and make a playoff appearance, lose first round. You're like, all right, you know what I mean? And Mac Jones had a good year. I think it was like around 3,500 yards, 23 touchdowns to 12 picks, really good QB rating, a really good accuracy. And, that's my take on the Pats. And I think the Bills are very, very good.
You mentioned how the Bills are just a couple steps ahead, and I've said that before. I want to kind of compare it to the Chiefs and the Rams. The last 3 years, those three teams, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Rams, have been building a culture. They've had their young quarterback. It was first Jared Goff, then they traded for Matt Stafford in the Rams case. The Chiefs have had Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen shortly drafted after Patrick Mahomes. And those teams have been building with their head coaches and with their great quarterbacks for 3, 4, 5 years. They have a culture built. This young team, I even look at the weapons, like you're saying, minus the tight ends. Your weapons are so young, especially your running backs, Stevenson and Damian Harris, just so young. And you have some veterans on defense, but I just think it's like a culture thing. Like they've been building this culture for a couple of years and they're just a little bit ahead, which is fine. I mean, next year, the AFC East minus the Dolphins and the Jets, because they're always irrelevant.
Dolphins won 9 games, right?
Yeah. And then they fired their fucking great head coach.
That was the funniest thing ever. I texted my Dolphins friend and I was like, dude, what the hell? And he was like, I don't know. So,
anyways, great year to the Pats.
Appreciate it. And the last thing I'll say on this is that's the difference here between my friend Max Murphy, and my friend Max Sorger, who was on the show a couple months ago, the Jets analyst. He blowed me up all game, and that's like a good friend of mine who I would never fight in my life. But in those moments, if he was sitting right next to me, I would have probably freaking freaked out and threw him out the window. But the difference is I get a text. Literally, the text came in like about 1 minute apart. My friend Max, other Max, texted me, like, oh, you missed TB12 now, don't you? Like, imagine letting the greatest quarterback ever walk, like all this stuff. And then I get the nicest text from Max, like, great season, great rookie. You'll be back. So I guess we'll leave it there. And I appreciate it.
As a co-host, what am I going to do? Talk shit to my friend and then
see, look, all of a sudden I care about. I never thought I'd give a shit about the Vikings in my life, but now when I watch, I pull for you guys.
How college makes worlds collide. Let's move on. Niners Cowboys. We talked about the viewership that game, and rip to my playoff predictions. I don't want to. Because I've defended Dak. I'm a big Dak guy. He didn't play good. The sun affected him. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me how it affected him and the receivers. I saw some videos. I was out on the slopes skiing during the game. Couldn't watch the game, but I was watching, obviously, the highlights and that kind of thing. I caught the end of the game. Mike McCarthy needs to be gone.
You think so?
I go on Instagram. I look on the media. Everyone says McCarthy's the problem. He's got to be gone. I don't even think when you have Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator and Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator and those weapons again, and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, the two best defensive players, go out in the middle of the game, you cannot lose that game. Mike McCarthy, not only has clock management, he literally said, hey, blame it on the refs that last play with the Cowboys for a chance to
I don't blame it on the refs. It was stupid. It was horribly executed.
Horrible. Mike McCarthy literally he's like, we thought that we could get another playoff. So Kellen Moore didn't call that when Mike McCarthy.
It is partially on Dak because you're supposed to know to go down after 2, 3 seconds. Right. You got to know he kept it alive. But you are right. What were you saying?
I'm just saying Mike McCarthy after the game he was getting interviewed, he's like, yeah, we thought we could get on another playoff. So it's so was it Kellen Moore calling that? No, because you're taking the blame. I also think that whole game was just terribly coached. Mike McCarthy, you think about the Cowboys as a top, pretty good team this year, right? Especially
upper echelon team.
Yeah, upper echelon team. How is he 25-23 in his first 2 seasons with, I named it last podcast But with CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, that O-line, Micah Parsons, Lane Vander Esch, like Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, like how do you go 25 and 23 in your first 2 years?
I think
Dak obviously being injured last year, but you're held up to higher standards, A, because you're America's team, you're the Cowboys, B, because Jerry Jones is your owner, and C, because you have that talent. How do you lose first round in the playoffs? And everyone was like, hey, Niners, dark horse team, you don't want any piece of them. You're right. You didn't want any piece of that, but you got to win that game. And I think if you don't win that game, you just paid Dak a lot. I don't know if Dak is the answer, but you just paid him a lot. So what are you going to do? Get rid of Dak? No, you're going to have to get rid of Mike McCarthy.
Dak is really good. I don't know what I honestly don't know what the problem is. I think, well, their problem was Deebo Samuel, but I think Deebo Samuel is legitimately, I think I said this before, maybe one of the last podcasts. I think when it comes to top 5 players in the NFL, I think he's there. Pure players. I think he's there. I really do. And it's hard to look past quarterbacks in that conversation, but Deebo Samuel, I mean, who's doing this shit? Like, he's a better running back than your favorite running back, probably. And he's a better wide receiver than your favorite wide receiver. I mean, he is so freaking good at football. It looks like you're watching a high school game and like that's the best kid on the field. It just looks different. And you don't see that in the NFL because it's so even. Everyone's a grown man. But you don't see players just dominate like this.
Yeah, in high school, he's getting recruited by all the D1 guys. You're like, yeah, that guy is different. I think Deebo Samuel, I hate LeBron. Fuck LeBron. We both hate LeBron. We respect LeBron. But I think Deebo Samuel is like a Swiss Army knife. He's like LeBron. LeBron can shoot the 3, drive, doesn't play defense, whatever. Deebo Samuel can, honestly, if you put him at quarterback, I've never seen it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would.
Little wild card action.
Times. And then also just him as like his scrimmage yards, his rush yards, his receiving yards. I was so pissed when the first team all pro rankings came out, or all teams came out, and they put Deebo ahead of Justin Jefferson. And then I looked back and I was like, you know what? I love JJ. I'm a little biased here, but Deebo Samuel is the man.
Deebo's a better pure football player. Justin Jefferson is right there in terms of like pure wide receiver. Because so much of what Deebo does isn't wide receiver, but still.
Right.
JJ, real quick. We'll do this really quick. What's your top 4 wide receivers in the league? It's harder right now because there's a bit of a changing of the guards going on in terms of Julio and stuff like that. But
yeah, I know. I would say
Jay Jettas is in there.
I would say Devontae Adams 1. I'd say DeAndre Hopkins 2, Cooper Kupp 3, Stephon Diggs 4, JJ 5.
Give me Devontae Adams, then Cooper Kupp, just because no matter how you feel.
I can't put Deebo as like a peer receiver, top 5 peer receiver.
But I'm still taking him. I'm going to go Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp second, only because it's kind of a crime not even put him first. But if we're just going to look at it purely career kind of standpoint, put Cooper Kupp second right now. You got to put D-Hop in there. I almost like Justin Jefferson at this point in their career is better than D-Hop right now.
Yeah, it's kind of
and it's hard for you to say because you don't want to feel like, I think like you deflect a lot of how you feel and you try to make it more, you know what I mean? You try to.
Right. That's kind of the same with you when we were doing our playoff predictions.
Yeah, in your brain, you're convincing yourself that maybe you think he's better than, but like he's not. Like he's as good as you probably think he is, and like he is so good. And guess what? Guess who might just be the best wide receiver in the league right now? Guess who is playing the best in the league at wide receiver, and guess who might be the best wide receiver in the league right now? And people are gonna freaking come at me for this.
Are they in the playoffs?
Jamar freaking Chase, dude. He is.
I would put Jamar Chase probably 6 or 7, even as a rookie.
Now,
he's so good.
Right now, I don't know. I turned on that Bengals game. They can't stop him. He runs little 10-yard. He runs little 10-yard comebacks, slants, and shit. Like he's kind of the most dominant wide receiver in the league right now. Dude, I'm not even joking.
Do we talk about this preview of Bengals Titans? I think that's a under the radar, intriguing matchup game.
Where's that? That game's in Tennessee.
It's in Tennessee. First round bye. They are getting the Titans have been decimated with injuries all year long. And I hate saying that because every team has to fight injuries all year long. But dude, the Titans were killed with injuries this year. First round bye, they get Derrick Henry back. Julio hasn't been as healthy as he's been all year long, except for now. AJ Brown is back. Dude, that's going to be a good game. And I think the Bengals have like even though they had to play wild card weekend, like they have the offensive weapons and they have like, dude, Jesse Bates, that safety for the Bengals, and that front four looks good. I'm actually so excited for this Bengals game. I think that one's flying under the radar.
I think so too. I think I'm interested to see how good Derrick Henry looks, right?
Yeah.
That's huge. Good Derrick Henry is pretty much the recipe to beat any team in the league.
Right.
But that Bengals offense, I think the Bengals kind of reinvented the way we should look at the NFL. I think in the first round of the draft, you do have to go with superstars. You have to go with guys who touch the football. And I think for so long, and kind of the old school approach has been like draft a Quentin Nelson sort of guy, which listen, if you can get Quentin Nelson, get him at any spot. But my point being is I don't really think it should be defensive linemen. I know you're huge on Aiden Hutchinson, but I think it should be guys who like who's that kid from Michigan State?
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I think,
Kenneth Walker.
Like guys who touch in today's NFL with the rules the way they are.
Offensive dominated game.
Scoring points is king. And then again, you are a Vikings fan. You have maybe the best offensive roster in the league, maybe. Right. And, I guess it hasn't won you so many games this year. But you look at a team, and with all due respect, I think Joe Burrow is better than Kirk Cousins. But
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. I mean, because Kirk had an unreal year in terms of numbers, but in terms of winning pedigree, he won in college. You know what I mean? He's just a winner. But I think you draft. They drafted Joe, who obviously wasn't a bust. He was pro ready. He's old. He's not a young kid at all, really. I think he's like 25. And then you draft his favorite weapon, who's unreal. Joe Mixon's coming along because they're not force feeding him. It's easier for running back to exist in a world where the defense is scared of getting the top taken off. So I think it really is kind of redefining. Everyone was freaking out about their O-line. It's kind of redefining the way people should look at drafting. I think it's a new NFL. But then again, there will always be guys like Bill Belichick and old school kind of guys who will build through defense, run game, O-line, and that's awesome too. But
I think Joe Burrow was my worst sports take of all time. He proved me so wrong. I was like, he's gonna be a bust.
You said he wasn't gonna be good?
Yeah, I was like,
oh my God.
He was on the greatest NFL college football team of all time. I'm like, he's a game manager. I was like,
to me, that never has mattered because that team looks so good. In my personal opinion, I think the weapons names. The gun doesn't fire, right? Somebody needs to be out there shooting the gun. So it's like you can have these great weapons on the outside and you wouldn't know their names. That's why people are like, oh, Mac's gonna suck. It's like, sure, yes. Did he have an unreal team in college? Absolutely. But somebody has to be out there moving that team forward. And so that's why I always say to you, and I've said it on this podcast before, I like guys who win in college. I think it shows me a lot about just situationally, right? Because it's like the same way Brady can't throw a ball underhand 90 yards like Patrick Mahomes. But for some reason, the throws he makes and the position he puts his team in ends up winning. And I think that means a lot to me. And not to mention, let's not act like Joe Burrow's not ridiculously talented.
Like you said, playmakers I want as winners in college. But my dad and I have been watching the Vikings fucking draft these TCU, Eastern Illinois, terrible school athletes. Draft me, not the best player in the draft, but draft me a player that comes from the SEC who has to play Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Texas A&M, or Big Ten who has to play Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Wisconsin, whatever. Give me those guys. I don't care if they're the best player over a shitty non-Power 5 school.
I also want to say the refs, and I completely agree with you. The refs have been criticized a lot. And I want to say personally that there is some legitimacy to the criticism they're getting, like the whistle play in the Bengals game and stuff like that. But I don't know if you've noticed this as well, people are hitting in the playoffs right now. Like these hits are, you're seeing people like really, really hit, and
Buda
you're not
Baker.
seeing the flags come out.
Prayers
Which
up to Buda Baker.
What'd you say?
Prayers up to Buda Baker.
Yeah, no, that was sad. I actually wasn't watching, but I got the alert on my phone.
Yeah.
I was getting the craziest alerts from that game. Aaron Donner ripped somebody's helmet off. Buda Baker's heading to the hospital. That was an odd game. We'll get into that. But I just want to say, I'm so happy when I watch the NFL, and people are obviously, besides, that's a horrible injury, but people are hitting really hard and they're keeping the flags in the pocket. For the most part, I think they're so ready to throw flags on hard hits before they just see a hard hit before they see something necessarily illegal with the hit. But I think we're seeing people hit right now. So I like that.
I like it too. I like the physicality of these playoffs. The teams left. There's also criticism about like, should they just brought on the number seven wild card team? Should they get rid of it? I don't like, I mean, come on. It's been 2 years. I think what are you gonna do? Complain about 2 more playoff games? I'm not. Also, it gives the Vikings, because Vikings won't ever be a 1 seed, it gives the Vikings another chance to be a 7 seed and get blown out by a 2 seed. But hey,
I was gonna say it might be. Go ahead.
I don't like the criticism on like the number 7 seed. It's more playoff football. I think you're gonna see an upset one of these years, and that's kind of what you're looking for. You're just looking for, I mean, it's the NFL, like the parity. That's what we love it for. And I think dude, the games this weekend, some of them were blowouts, but it's just the NFL is headed right just in the right direction. You see it from the viewership and just the quality of the teams left in this divisional round are amazing. The Vikings, if they would played any of the teams remaining in these playoffs, my dad and I were like, good thing they didn't make the playoffs, because they would have gotten shit on by any of these.
Well, the Vikings are a weird team. They can kind of mess around and keep it close, in my opinion.
But just like the way they played, I don't know. I like where the NFL is.
They're not a spotlight team.
The refing, I thought this weekend was kind of poor, but I did that there was some hard hitting. Also, dude, they're humans. Like NFL will never be, if you want refing to be perfect, your standards as a person are way too high, and you need to look in the mirror, because these guys are humans. They're going to make mistakes. I think you kind of have to, I think it went a little bit overboard in the Cowboys game. Cowboys had a lot of dumb penalties, like false starts that are obvious.
I think the ref had to touch the ball though, right?
What?
That was the problem. The ref had to touch the ball for it to be.
And hey, I look back at that game and I'm like, the 49ers dominated that whole game. Why are we just going back to that one last play of the game to recap about what, like the 49ers came in there and dominated from the beginning. I hate that we're just talking about this last play like it was determining the game. Like Dak Prescott and the way the Cowboys were playing, we're going to convert a 1st and goal from the 30-yard line on the last play. That's not happening. So I don't like that. The whole talk was about that last play.
There's so many Cowboys fans, so it's like you hear a lot of it, but in reality, they got dominated. It was too little, too late anyway. They would have needed, I mean, we're acting like they wouldn't have needed, I won't call it a Hail Mary because it's from the 30, but they would have needed something crazy, a little bit of a Lions versus the Vikings situation. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought it was from the 20, you dick.
All right, yeah. I'm sorry. And
off of the Cowboys and the Niners, just kind of recapping some of these games. Bucks, Eagles, I don't know if we have to talk a lot about that. We kind of predicted that would be a beating. Is Jalen Hurts the answer? I'll ask Teddy that.
I like Jalen Hurts. I don't have a problem.
I like him too.
Talk about a guy with not a lot of weapons. Rookie Devontae Smith is awesome, but give that kid a supporting staff. I think Jalen Hurts is really, really good.
I like Nick Sirianni. I like Jalen Hurts. I like where that team is kind of head. Hey, in the beginning, they're projected to be one of the worst teams with one of the worst records before this.
They're a playoff team. You got to get, and
they overperformed the whole year.
Yeah. And I think the fact that I don't know internally what's going on, but just what you hear in the media, like that maybe they're thinking about not keeping Jalen Hurts, whatever. Like back the kid up, give him confidence. He just led you to a playoff berth. Teams would die for this. Like, and he's really good. He's shown you all year that he's good. Back the kid up. Show him that you have his back. He doesn't need to be worried about getting replaced or anything. Like, go all in on this kid. He's good. And if it doesn't pan out, then you focus elsewhere. But what else are you trying to do? You know, I feel like they've done this in the past with players, and they're not doing it right. They have to just, and I need them to.
Part of that is the Eagles fan base. That's part of the problem. But
yeah,
yeah,
so the Giants too.
I mean, just another playoff win by Mr. Tom Brady. So
yeah,
not much to talk about there. They're decimated. If Tristan Wirfs, who got injured at the end of the year, if Tristan Wirfs and Jensen, their center.
Yeah, what's their status?
Don't play versus the Rams. I'm sorry. I just can't look past how big those two are to that team, especially with how injured they already are at the wide receiver position.
And especially their quarterback's a tree. He doesn't move. So
and the way that the Rams played,
that's the thing. It's like, how do you bet against playoff Brady? Right. But
I just think it's too much.
Here's what I'll say. It will take a perfect game from them.
Hey, without Tristan Wirfs and their center Jansen, who's good, Aaron Donald and Von Miller might eat Brady alive.
Yeah, I mean, what happened to this Bucs defense too? This defense last year was like the best defense ever. Like it was ridiculous.
I'll tell you what happened. Their secondary all year long, they haven't been healthy.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're also talking Stafford's shit the bed a couple times this year, more than a couple times this year.
I would say so.
As good as the defense is, if he doesn't play well, if they don't put up 26, 27, 28, 30, they're not probably won't win.
It's still the Bucs,
and it is still the Bucs. It is still Mike Evans, Gronk. I'll tell you what, with Godwin and AB, that team's unstoppable.
They're going back to back.
I mean, they had 3 top 8 wide receivers in the league, in my opinion. Yeah. I think Chris Godwin's right up there with everyone, and it doesn't get the respect he deserves. He was Brady's go-to guy and everything. Always been like a chain mover sort of guy, but
yeah, I thought about this when I was just talking about the Bengals Titans matchup. Props to the Las Vegas Raiders. That team all year long, I saw like a TikTok. Someone made like a 30 for 30 kind of short like TikTok thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, their first round cornerback pick goes to jail. Henry Ruggs, you know about him. You know about John Gruden. What that team had to fight through this whole year, and they get into the playoffs and they stick to what they've been doing all year, and they just fight till the end, till the last play. Derek Carr, you're the man. Interim head coach, come to the Vikings. I know they don't want you. Come to the Vikings. There was a picture on Instagram of him the night they lost, handwriting every letter to every player on the team. And that, call it cringeworthy, just was so fucking inspiring and amazing to see from an interim head coach. Because he took that team from being good, but then when John Gruden went out, you're like, Henry Ruggs went out, you're like, oh shit. And then they just keep fighting, they make it into the playoffs, and the Raiders, just props to them. So much respect for Derek Carr and that interim head coach.
I was having this debate with my father, and you let me know what you think, that having the team in Vegas is bad. And his sort of thing was, these guys could do any of this shit anywhere. And I kind of said, yes, that is true. They could do it anywhere, like in terms of getting arrested, being an opportunity where you are, behind the wheel drunk, whether it be after a party or guys, whether it's blowing their money, getting arrested, all this shit. Could it happen anywhere? Yes. But what do you think about the team in Vegas?
I think
a bunch of 20-year-olds with millions of dollars.
It gets more coverage and it gets more scrutiny because they're in Vegas, and that's
there's just opportunities to blow money. There's opportunities to do dumb things, drugs, guns. I mean, it is a wild freaking place. You can do anything anywhere with $10 million.
All I gotta say is that stadium, and now they're a little bit more relevant because they're in Vegas than in Oakland. But when I think of the Raiders, I think of obviously their fan base. I mean, they're crazy. But I also think about the Oakland John Man, old tough Oakland Raiders, but it will take a little bit to get used to in Vegas. And yeah, I think you're kind of right. Like, gets more coverage and gets more publicity that they're in Vegas. And so like when this kind of shit happens with Henry Ruggs and John Gruden, it's going to get blown up a lot more.
But do you think being in Vegas is like a bad spot for young kids with a ton of money? Like, do you think it has anything to do with the amount of trouble that kids are getting in on that team, or no?
I don't know. I think kids with money.
Or are you on the boat that it could happen anywhere?
I think it could happen. Kids with money can happen anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, you all of a sudden one day you're living off a college scholarship meal plan.
Right.
And the next day, and you're taking a bus to the facility, and the next day you get a $16 million rookie contract. It could happen anywhere, but then again, it's like you're in Middletown, Massachusetts, just got out of practice, and like I think.
Or okay,
what could you really do there? You know what I don't know.
What you're saying. Like if you're in Cincinnati or you're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, it's like tiny. Like, yeah, where are your opportunities going to be to be as much of a dumbass as if you're in LA or Las Vegas or New York City? I do.
Yeah. Then again, I mean, I guess same argument for LA, because LA, those guys seem to have not done anything. Hopefully, I'm not missing anything crazy. I don't remember a story about an LA guy this year. So
I think they just have too many veterans, like Sean McVay. Even I don't think he would let that shit fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had to shout out the Raiders there. I mean, that was just incredible what they did. What do you want to move on to next, Teddy?
We talk, I guess, Big Ben last game.
Big Ben, what a career. Wow. 2 Super Bowls?
2, which is weird, right? It doesn't feel like it, but.
Did he have 2? Versus the Cardinals and versus who else?
Packers, maybe, or did he lose to the Packers?
No, Packers beat them. Maybe he went to 2 and 1-1. I think
he went to 3 and 1-2.
Okay. Anyways,
maybe
Big Ben,
very 1-2.
What a career! I love they ended in the playoffs, even though they shouldn't have been there. Clearly, I love that he got to end it by getting destroyed by the Chiefs. He kind of knew. There was a video of him before the game saying, "Yeah, we're supposed to lose by 20, but do you think we really care? We got to this point, we shouldn't have." Like
he one last
round. What?
You said that?
Yeah, and it's kind of like everyone's like, "Come on, Big Ben, like, do you really want to win this game?" And then he's like, "Well, we shouldn't have gotten to this point. We're 12-point underdogs, but hey, while we're here, let's just like."
I was thinking to myself, how badly does he want to hop on a plane and go to freezing Arrowhead and get the crap beat out of him?
He doesn't.
He didn't, right? Like, it didn't feel like when they were winning that game or whatever was the situation, I was like, there's no way Big Ben wants to do this right now.
Now you kind of look at, they're kind of in that position where what do they do at the quarterback position?
Who do they have? Dwayne Haskins at backup?
Dewey Haskins, Mason Rudolph. I don't know.
Mason Rudolph's not the answer. I'm not even a Steelers fan. I'd be pissed if they went with him. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, no, they won't. But I'm just saying, like, those are their options. And I mean, dude, I would love Russell Wilson to go there with Deontay Johnson, Mike Tomlin, Chase Claypool. Juju's having his struggles. He also got injured this year. And especially with that defense, Minkah Fitzpatrick, obviously defensive player of the year. Watt. I would love Wilson to go there. I think that'd be awesome. I think they're really close because they have a young team. You just think they have an old team because of Ben. Like, they have a young team and they got a lot of talent.
PJ Watt's really good. So here's something that your best friend Colin Coward said, a hot take that was sent to me. Did you send this to me? Maybe you did. The Russell Wilson. I guess not if you don't remember. Somebody did. So somebody sent to me a video of Colin Coward saying, hot take, Patriots should trade Mac Jones and a first-round pick to the Seahawks for Russell Wilson.
I did not send that to you.
In an attempt, if you're looking at it from the fact that Bill Belichick 78 or whatever, or no, 68, 69, 70. Yeah. I think he's about to be 70. If you're looking at it from that perspective, if you're saying he's not going to coach for more than 4 more years, does Bill Belichick trade Mac and the first round pick, get Russell Wilson in an attempt to compete with Josh Allen before his career is over?
Man, and that'd be crazy.
And I was thinking, and initially I'm like, dude, shut up. We have our future, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's Russell Wilson. But then that's a part of me that's like 4 years from now when Russell Wilson's old and can't move, I'm like, fuck, dude. And I have no doubt in my Mac's gonna be. I'm not saying this, I'm a Pats fan. Maybe I am, but I watched every snap he played this year. I think he's gonna be really freaking good. I don't know. I think that would be kind of stupid. Would a Russell Wilson Patriots team beat a Mac Jones Patriots team the next couple of years? Maybe, probably. But would it be worth it in the long run? I don't know. So what's your thoughts on that? Just because your boy Colin Cowherd said it. So
I can't believe I didn't see that. I've seen every 3-hour show of his every day. But that is like literally a toss-up because you're like, Mac Jones looked really good as a rookie, and he could keep progressing to be a Russell Wilson these next couple of years. But then you're like, dude, especially as like a big Russell Wilson guy, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to see Russell Wilson go against Josh Allen 2 times a year. I would love to see that.
it's an interesting idea.
First,
The idea, however, like as cool it is to have Russ, like the idea of getting rid of Mac Jones, like what are you talking? Like I just in my heart, I'm like, no way.
Teddy, who are you guys gonna draft? Like, what are your needs with the first round pick right now?
Speed at the linebacker position. I love Bill Belichick, right? But we know what some of his flaws are, right? Some of his stubbornness, you can't call it a flaw because it's won him a game, so many games, but it's the sort of live by it, die by it thing, right? Where it's won you a lot of games, so if it doesn't work, you're going to lose. And that was like playing Hightower, playing Jamie Collins, just because they've been there and done that. Those sort of guys, they've won Super Bowls, they've played in big spots. They're not fast. They can't tackle Josh Allen. They can't guard the running backs out of the backfield. They can't keep up with these guys running crossers across the middle at all. They can't even keep up with the running backs. If they don't hit the running back after his first cut, the running back's gone, and it's up to Devin McCourty to make the tackle. So I think we have, as I'm sure some of you guys know, maybe the more in-touch NFL fans know Juwan Bentley and Josh Uche, who are really good. They're young kids. They're really good. This is their second and third year, respectively. And he didn't really play those guys a whole lot because it is the playoffs. He's trusting his veterans. But you got to play those kids because Juwan Bentley played, I want to say, but like not nearly as much as he did all season. He was their leading tackler this year. And they were so quick to put in Jamie Collins and Dante Hightower. These guys, and I love them, and I'm so thankful. Like Dante Hightower with that strip sack that he had versus the Falcons. He helped us in the every Super Bowl we've won. He was a big part of them.
Right.
Not everything, the last 3. But you got to play the young kids because they're fast. It's a different breed of NFL these days. Jamie Collins used to be very fast, good in coverage, everything like that. Dante Hightower never was. He's just a big run stopper, which is good in situations. But we couldn't keep up. And that was part of the reason with the touchdowns is because all you see is they scored 7 touchdowns or 8, whatever it was. What I see is we can't stop them from getting first downs, which leads to touchdowns. They weren't bombing the ball over our head. I don't know. The longest play that they had all game was probably they had a couple 40-yarders, but for the most part, they had to matriculate the ball downfield because we couldn't keep up with these guys. And so you got to play the young guys. You got to take the best. I think Kyle Duggar is really, really good. If you know who that is, our strong safety, second-year guy. Yeah. I think J.C. Jackson proved himself all year. Monster. And
I don't think you guys like have a lot of needs. You're just like with the rookie quarterback, you're just like you're almost there. I think it's just gonna take a little bit of time.
We need speed on, and I agree with you 100%. There's not like we don't need like some sort of quick fix right now. It is a progression thing. We're not supposed to be the Chiefs or the Packers right now. But I want speed on defense, and I want a number 1 wide receiver. So I know it's a lot to ask for, Santa, but please, next year.
I kind of want to move on to, you think the Packers, we're very different on the Packers because fuck the Packers, but you think that if the Packers beat the Niners, who, hey, their arch enemy, Kyle Shanahan is 3 for 4 against Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur coached under Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta and I forget this other place where he coached under Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan knows him like a book. The Packers beat the 49ers somehow this year in that crazy game. 49ers are looking for revenge. If the Packers win this weekend, do they win the Super Bowl? You say yes.
I say They definitely can. I won't guarantee. I won't say, oh, if they win, they're going to win. But going into this, as we talked about last episode, I said I believe in the Packers, and that's purely based off of I think they're the best they've been in a couple of years. Number one. Number two, things don't happen twice. Football is such a random freaking sport. You don't see things repeat themselves outside of Brady winning Super Bowls that often. So you look at it, right? Like the same way at Alabama, you're not going to see them. They don't repeat, right? Things change. It never feels like Georgia is going to beat them. They beat them because Alabama's not going to repeat, right? Do I really see the Packers choking again? Like, it's like it kind of feels like this might be it, right? They're not going to choke this year. They got the number one seed. They got the bye.
It does feel like that. That's what scares me.
And it feels like one of those years that he could do it. This could be a second one, and he could retire and go host Jeopardy.
Right.
But I think the Packers do, and I think the Niners are just so good. They're such a good test for teams. I think the Niners' hopes, as good as Deebo Samuel is, rest on who?
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. If Jimmy G's playing well, why can't that team win versus any team in the league? They can.
Dude, people question his toughness because he's injury prone. Do you know what Jimmy G's fighting through right now? He's got like an ankle sprain. He's got turf toe. He's got a hurt shoulder. Like, that guy's fighting through everything to play in these playoffs. I think
he's playing well.
It raised my level of respect for Jimmy G this year because he's fought through a lot of shit and he played well versus the Cowboys.
And he grew up in the Brady School of football, which helps a little bit too.
I guess that helps a little bit. But yeah, Packers, I hate to say it, it does feel different. I think it
does, and especially if they beat this Niners team.
I think the Niners are like, they're the 6th seed, but I think they're like the hardest out. It's crazy.
Really, in a weird way. It's like they're not the best team.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the hardest team to beat. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like their basement of how bad they could play is very high.
I wonder.
And their ceiling isn't like, you know what I mean?
I wonder what their record is.
Like kind of right here, and you know what you're getting with that team every time you play them.
Wonder what their record is against the spread this year. I feel like they're a team you can't bet against.
No, not at all.
I bet against them one time this year. It was the Packers versus them, and I was down like 300 on the week. So I put 400 on the Packers, and then they won with the last second like field goal. I'm like, holy shit. This should not have been a very close game, but 49ers are just a tough out. So gosh, that's scary. If the Packers win the Super Bowl, if Aaron Rodgers wins the Super Bowl,
I wanted to put the Niners. You
won't see me on the next podcast episode.
Did I take the Niners last week?
Versus the Cowboys?
Yeah.
I think you did, yeah.
I think I did too.
You didn't take them versus the Packers, though.
I think I did this. So what was I wrong on? Anything?
Let's see. Bengals, you took Bengals. You took Chiefs. You took Bills. 3 for 3. You took Bucks. Do you take Rams or Cardinals?
I don't think I would have bet on the Cardinals.
Okay.
I don't remember, but I just don't think I would have.
I think you went undefeated.
I think I did. I think my playoff predictions are pretty accurate right now. And I think I specifically said and I think I said in that video, if they do, this Niners matchup happens, they beat the Niners, then I think people are going to start really believing they could do it.
What a beatdown.
And then I said rematch, and then I gave it to A-Rod for whatever reason. Or no, then did I go back on my decision?
No, you took Packers. You have the Packers in the Super. Do you have the Bucks? Do you have the Bucks in the Super Bowl?
I forget. I think whatever I did, I think I went back and changed it. I feel we're gonna have to watch this after.
Anyways, Rams beat down on Monday Night Football versus the Cardinals, who you and I have not been high on all year. And I've been high on the Rams all year. And then my dumbass bet against the Rams.
Really?
I think I took the Cardinals. I swear to God. I'm so
That's
dumb.
weird. Didn't we agree on this?
I literally said Rams to the Super Bowl all year long. And then we do our playoff prediction. I'm like, oh, I don't know about the Rams. Like, why? Why would I have done that? Anyways, Rams had a beatdown. They won me a lot of money. And it just felt good to watch OBJ strive without Baker's shitty maker.
OBJ is so good.
That felt so good. OBJ now has as many touchdowns with the Rams and Matt Stafford than he does with his whole career on the Browns.
I think OBJ is the most exciting player to watch in the NFL. My personal opinion.
He's electric.
For a while, it used to be Tyreek Hill. The NFL kind of figured him out a little bit. Him and Debo are the two most exciting players to watch. But to me, it's OBJ.
And we get to watch those guys twice a year play against each other.
Yeah.
Exciting. That NFC West is unreal. Like the Cardinals, great year. Decimated with injuries. JJ Watt was back. He didn't look like,
Cardinals, Seahawks, Niners, Rams, right? That's the division.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
And we get watch that. That's a young, like those coaches besides Pete Carroll, like that's gonna be great. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury, like those are all with young quarterbacks too. It's gonna be fun to watch these next couple of years. But Cardinals had a great year. They just from the beginning, and honestly, a lot of the money in Vegas was on the Rams. It just kind of felt like a perfect storm for the Rams. D-Hop wasn't playing. D-Hop needs to play for the Cardinals to be good. I never think of a wide receiver as like the most valuable player on the team, but I think he's the most valuable player on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler, they have options like Christian Kirk, AJ Green. He's old, but Zach Ertz, those two running backs, James Conner, and Chase Edmonds, like he has weapons. It's just D-Hop.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, that team healthy DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz, it's built perfectly. Someone take the top off the defense. Then you have your tight end running the seams, and then you have Christian Kirk. You can hit him underneath. Also, he can go long. AJ Green, and I think that whole team is really good. But
I do too, and they're gonna be good. They're gonna be good next year. But
yeah, I have to agree with that.
It's also like a story. It's now there's a narrative being created about Cliff Kingsbury. So this year he lost 6 out of his last 7 or 5 out of his last 6. Year before that, he lost 7 out of his last 9. Year before that, he lost 6 out of his last 8. And it's becoming a narrative. It's like the Cardinals get rolling early and then people figure out Cliff Kingsbury. And I don't know what you think about that, but I think it's something to be looked at with the Cardinals. I don't think like, hey, fire Cliff Kingsbury. That's not what I'm saying.
It's weird because it doesn't feel like Cliff Kingsbury is like, when you talk about coaches that need to be fired, it's like his name wouldn't even come up in my head at all. He
feels pretty secure.
But it's weird when you start looking at some of the numbers, like, all right, what's going on here?
Yeah. You know? Speaking of coaching, anything you have to add about the Rams game? Just beat down. I don't know what else you have to say.
Yeah, it's the most talented team in the league. I don't think that's a controversial statement. I think maybe if AB and Chris Godwin were still on that team playing, maybe. But I think Rams are the most talented team in the league. I think they have, when that defense plays well and the offense plays well, who's beating them? Nobody. But my belief in that happening is why I kind of like other teams. That's all I have to say on that.
I just like there's 7 head coach opening jobs right now in the NFL. Vikings, one of them. And I love listening to Steve Smith, because like he's the biggest shit talker and like critical. He's so critical on everyone and every team, but I love listening to him because he's become a whole different analyst than who he was as a player. As a wide receiver, no one liked playing against him. He's a shit talker. He's just kind of like a jerk, like on the field, but he had that like presence about him. He goes, he gets hired, he retires, he gets hired by NFL Network. And some of his philosophies about like, how do you find a coach? And hey, why is this wide receiver going to be good? And I like a lot what he says, but I think about the coaching jobs in the NFL right now. And as a Vikings fan, I'm so sick of them like hiring like Leslie Frazier and Mike Zimmer, like these defensive coordinators in a league where you need to be able to compete with the Sean McVay.
So I guess you wouldn't want Flores?
What?
So I guess you wouldn't want Flores based on what you're saying right now?
No, but also what I'm saying is either I want an offensive guru like a Sean McVay, or here's what I want, a Brian Flores or even a Dan Quinn, even though he struggled in Atlanta, where they walk into a room, or even a Robert Saleh, and you criticize him because he's on the Jets. One of those guys where they walk into the room and immediately has everyone. They have their attention. Everyone respects them because they've had success, or B, they can just kind of control a locker room. Mike Zimmer didn't have like the ego and like the moxie to control a room with so much talent, like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, just on the offensive side. But I want someone like a Flores or a Dan Quinn or like a Robert Saleh, which they won't get obviously, or just someone that can control the room.
You want a Robert Saleh?
I would love a Robert Saleh. I know he was a defensive coordinator, but the guy just can control a room like that. Do you know what the problem? Hey, do you know what the problem was with the Vikings this year? Only a Vikings fan would have known this. Was our offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak is dog shit. The offensive play calling and our injuries on defense was awful. They need a new offensive coordinator more than they do need a new head coach. It's so hard to find a new because you're looking at like Kellen Moore. How good do we know Kellen Moore is when he has Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Schultz, like all those weapons? How good? We just interviewed Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator for the Packers. How good do we know he is when he has Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and so on and so forth? We just interviewed the Rams offensive coordinator. How good do you know who he is with Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Cam Akers, Matt Stafford? It's just so hard to find a right coach. You guys are so lucky that you've had Bill Belichick for the last 25 years because it's a struggle.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with Gerard Mayo, who's now the linebackers coach.
I would like where he can walk into a room and he has the respect from everyone.
Yeah, and he's the unpaid defensive coordinator because we haven't been naming a defensive coordinator in years. But he's really good. He's getting some looks. I think Texans. I think they even said front runner maybe for the Texans. So that's a guy. Brian Flores is the obvious one, right? This is a guy who just had 2 winning seasons back to back. So we will see.
It's just hard finding the right guy. Same with the quarterback position. It's hard to find that right guy who's like really the answer. This weekend, I'm so excited for this weekend. It's gonna be a fun divisional playoff weekend. Let's see here. Anything you have to add before we end this? Wrap up our 10th episode on Floor 10 Sports Podcast, baby.
I don't think we do. I think that was a fun episode. I can't believe we just hit 10. Next mark is 50 or 100.
Teddy,
maybe we'll hit it before the end of the year.
Did you announce in the I can't. Our next episode, we're gonna be in person. Next week,
next episode we'll be in person
in the corner room on floor 10.
Yeah, and we are. Yeah, I guess that's it for the episode.
You announce in the beginning of the episode that we accumulated over 2,300 views, including 1,400 from the Kyle Arrington podcast. By the way, in case you're wondering, hey, where are our interviews with the Syracuse players or with Kyle Arrington or something like that? We're reaching out. We're trying to get these guys on.
We'll be back and we will get them.
We'll get some guys on. So yeah, 23 accumulated views in our first 10 episodes and over 80 watch hours. So thank you to all the subscribers and viewers. Also, like, we love recommendations. And if you we're going to start coming out with like YouTube shorts, because I know sometimes if you're not like a big sports fan, like, oh my God, an hour-long podcast episode. But we're going to be coming out with some YouTube shorts. And that's about it.
That's about it, I think.
See you on Saturday. When do you get in? Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday, not up in the air, but yeah, we'll see.
I'll see you this weekend. All
Peace.
Right. Good talking. Floor 10 Sports Podcast. Oh.